She was dismissed for humiliating you by assisting a student. Hi everyone. Welcome to Mystic Tales today. I'm thrilled to share a new story with you. Emily, a dedicated teacher, noticed that one of her students, Tommy, had been wearing the same old, worn-out shoes for weeks. Without hesitation, she bought him a new pair, but this small act of kindness cost her the job she loved just 2 days later. Emily loved her job as a teacher and had always wanted to change the lives of children. She worked at a small school in her town where many of the students came from low-income families. This school was different from others in that it was frequently ignored and had limited resources, but Emily knew how important her role was because she thought that every child should have the opportunity to succeed regardless of their background. One day, while she was getting ready for class, she noticed Tommy sitting quietly at his desk. Emily knew something wasn't right, so she approached him and gently asked if he was okay. Later that afternoon, after all the kids had left, Tommy tried to hide his old shoes and seeing that his socks were showing through, but Emily had already noticed. Emily kept thinking about Tommy's shoes and how uncomfortable and ashamed he must have felt. She knew his family was having financial difficulties and wanted to do whatever she could to help. That evening, on her way home, Emily stopped at a shoe store and bought Tommy a new pair. It wasn't much, but she hoped it would help. When she quietly handed Tommy the shoes the following day before class began, his eyes brightened with happiness, and he smiled for the first time in days. Emily felt warm inside, but she had no idea that her gesture would not go unnoticed. And a few days after Emily gave Tommy the new shoes, she was called into the principal's office. She didn't know what it was about, but as she walked in, she saw Mr. Davidson, the principal, sitting behind his desk with a serious expression on his face. Emily sat down, feeling a little uneasy. "Emily, I've heard that you bought a pair of shoes for one of your students. Is that correct?" Mr. Davidson said. Emily nodded. "Yes, I bought Tommy some shoes because his were falling apart. I just wanted to help." Mr. Davidson groaned and reclined in his chair. "I apologize, but this is a serious matter. Although I appreciate your intentions, you have violated the school's policy, which states that teachers cannot give children personal gifts since it causes issues, and we must continue to treat everyone fairly." Emily's heart sank. She had never thought that something as basic as purchasing shoes could go wrong. She clarified that all she wanted was to help Tommy feel at ease, but the principal's countenance stayed stern. "I know your heart was in the right place," he added, "but we must abide by the rules. Regretfully, this is a major infraction, and the school board has made the decision to take action." Emily's hands were shaking as she asked, and her voice was hardly more than a whisper. Mr. Dav gave her a sorrowful look. Emily couldn't believe what she was hearing when she was told, "I have no choice but to let you go," that she had been fired for helping a student. She had always given her all at school, and now, because of one small act of kindness, her career was over. As she packed her belongings that day, she couldn't help but feel deeply unfairly treated. She had lost her job, but more than that, she felt lost herself. Was it wrong to care? Was it wrong to help someone in need? Emily came home that night not knowing what to do because her job had meant the world to her. Without it, she felt empty and tried to stop crying, but it was too late. She had always thought she was doing the right thing, but now she was being punished for it, and she had no idea that this was only the beginning of her story. Emily woke up the following morning feeling uncertain about her future. She had always been a teacher, and it was more than just a profession to her. It was her passion. Now that that was gone, she was confused of what to do next. So she sipped her coffee and gazed out the window. Her phone rang abruptly, and she was perplexed by the unknown number. She hesitated for a second before answering, saying, "Hello, is this Emily?" The person on the other end questioned, "Is this Emily?" It was a calm and courteous voice, but Emily didn't recognize it. "Yes, it was she calling my name, Jonathan Reeves. You don't know me, but I've heard about what happened at your school," the man added. "I'm a businessman." Emily's heart was racing. Who was this man, and how did he know about her? She was at a loss for words and remained silent. Jonathan went on, "And I recently found out that you bought Tommy new shoes as a favor to one of your classmates." There was a pause on the other end of the line, and then Jonathan spoke again. "I believe in people like you, Emily, who act with kindness and don't expect anything in return, which is why I'd like to offer you an opportunity. I know you were fired for your kindness, and I think that was incredibly unfair." Emily was still in shock. She had never heard of Jonathan Reeves, but his words were kind and understanding. "Thank you," Emily finally said, her voice shaking, and "I mean a lot to hear that, but I don't know what I'm going to do now that teaching was my entire life." Emily's eyes grew wide as she realized the potential. "I would want to offer you a position with my foundation, where you would be assisting children on a much larger scale and supporting instructors. I have been searching for someone with a heart like yours to join us." After everything that had transpired, Emily was hearing things that she couldn't believe, and now she had the opportunity to not only keep helping kids, but also have an even greater influence. "I'm at a loss for words." Emily stumbled. "Take your time, think about it, but know that your kindness hasn't gone unnoticed. Sometimes, when one door closes, another opens, and this could be the beginning of something even greater." Emily hung up the phone and sat in silence for a moment, finding it difficult to process that she had lost her job, and now a complete stranger was giving her the opportunity to change her life. She wasn't sure what the future held, but for the first time in days, she felt hope in the days that followed. Emily kept thinking about Jonathan Reeves' offer. It sounded too wonderful to be true. She had never thought that a single act of kindness could result in something like this, but she wasn't sure if she could truly trust a stranger to help her think things out. Emily made the decision to go to Tommy's neighborhood because she hadn't seen him since she was fired, and she wanted to make sure he was doing okay. As she strolled down the familiar streets, she noticed how different the world felt now that she wasn't teaching. Everything seemed quieter. When she arrived at Tommy's house, his mother opened the door, and her face brightened when she saw Emily. She said warmly, "I don't know how to thank you for what you did for Tommy. You really changed his life." Emily grinned with a sense of peace. She didn't say anything. She just wanted to help. "It was more than simply shoes," Tommy's mother said, shaking her head. Emily realized how much she missed being a part of her students' lives as they spoke, but she also knew that what had happened at the school couldn't be undone. The principal had made his decision, and she had to move on. Later that evening, as Emily sat in her tiny apartment, she continued to think about Jonathan's offer. She couldn't deny that it was an incredible opportunity, but it also felt overwhelming. Could she really step into a new world, leaving behind everything she had known, just as she was about to drift off to sleep? Jonathan Emily answered her phone when it rang again. "I hope I'm not calling too late," he replied politely. "No, it's fine. I just wanted to check whether you've gotten a chance to consider my offer," Emily replied. Jonathan went on, "I am aware that this is a significant choice." After taking a big breath, Emily said slowly, "I've thought about it, and I've decided I'd like to accept your offer." Jonathan sounded truly happy, which is fantastic news. "Emily will set everything up and get you started as soon as possible. I think this is just the beginning of something amazing for you." As Emily hung up, she experienced a strange mix of excitement and anxiety because her life was about to change in ways she couldn't have predicted. What had begun as a small act of kindness had now opened a door to something much bigger, something that would allow her to help children not just in her town, but all over the world. Emily went to bed that night feeling at peace. She wasn't sure what the future held, but for the first time in a long time, she felt like she was headed in the right direction. A few weeks later, Emily was standing in front of a massive contemporary structure that housed the Jonathan Reeves Foundation's offices. As she entered the expansive yet inviting space, she couldn't help but reflect on how drastically her life had changed in such a short period of time. Emily was welcomed by a group of amiable faces. Jonathan had made all the arrangements, and before long, she was a member of a team working on projects that benefit underprivileged kids nationwide. This was more than she could have ever imagined. She was no longer confined to her classroom and could now positively impact the lives of a great number of additional kids. One afternoon, Emily was sitting at her desk when she got an email from Jonathan asking to meet for lunch to talk about a new project. Curious, she accepted, and they met at a small cafe downtown, sitting across from one another. Jonathan grinned warmly. He replied, "I knew you were the right person for the job," and Emily felt a flood of appreciation. "Thank you," she said. "It's been an incredible experience. I can't believe how much has changed. I've been so impressed with the work you've done since joining us. I want to talk to you about something special because I know how passionate you are about helping kids, and I've been thinking that I want to launch a new program in your honor that embodies your goodness and heart." Jonathan leaned forward. Emily was shocked to learn that there was a scholarship fund in my name. "Yes," Jonathan nodded. "That would help children in need nationwide by giving them not only shoes, but also clothes, school supplies, and support. We'll call it the Emily's Heart Fund, and it will be a way to continue the tradition of what you did for Tommy by helping those in need." Emily's eyes were filled with tears as she listened. She was incredulous. What had begun as a small deed of kindness was now growing into something far more significant. Her name would be linked to a legacy of aiding children, a cause that was very dear to her. Jonathan grinned and said, "You deserve it." As Emily muttered, "This is beyond anything I ever imagined." "Emily, this is only the beginning. The world needs more individuals like you." Emily's story had come full circle. She had lost her job for helping one child, but now she was helping many more. It served as a reminder that kindness, even in the smallest forms, can have unimaginable ripple effects. As Emily stood at the scholarship fund's opening ceremony, she looked out at the crowd and saw the faces of the children who would benefit from the program. Over the course of the following month, the Emily's Heart Fund became a reality. The program helped countless children, and Emily found a new sense of purpose in her life. Love this tale. Her road had been challenging, but it had brought her to a place where she could truly change the world. For more, click the like button and sign up for Mystic Tales.